Hey everybody, it's Tony Cadaspati from the Great Vocal Majority, and I'm here today to talk to you about the candidacy of Donald Trump and what I think he's doing wrong, and why I think he's not just doing not just what he's doing wrong, but why he's going to lose if he's the nominee if things continue the way they're going. Now, little background. Why is Donald Trump even a viable candidate at this point? Well, you can blame the Republicans for that. I think we can all agree that the Republican Party is full of really stupid people. Not everyone, but the people running it are not the brightest bulbs in the batch. Let's be honest. I mean, after 2010, they got the House. They, didn't really do what they said they were going to do. But in 2014, they got the Senate, which was what they were telling us they needed. And then they didn't do anything then. I mean, Democrats would dispute that. Democrats would say, in fairness, they would say that the Republicans did a lot to obstruct Obama and that Obama's agenda was not instituted, because of all this obstruction. And they're really not wrong about that. A lot of what Obama wanted to do was stopped by the Republicans, but a lot of the very high profile things that the Republican voters wanted wasn't done. They didn't stop Obama on spending. They kind of let that go swim right through. They didn't really go to the mat on Obamacare. They didn't, like, shutting down the government was considered like, oh my God, shutting down the government. It's not that big of a deal to shut down the government. It's a big deal to the media. It's not a big deal in the scheme of things. Something like 80% of the government still remains open, which should also raise the question: what the hell is the other 20% doing that it's so unimportant that they can go on a permanent leave and nobody will notice? I mean, that's something that else to consider for a different video cast, perhaps. Excuse me, but all of that kind of disgust with the Republican Party is what really led to the ascension of outsider candidates like Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and Ben Carson. That's what led to them. So, but I want to talk today. Why is Donald Trump making mistakes? And what are the mistakes he's making? Well, I wrote some notes and I'm going to be referring to them. So when I look down, you'll know that's what I'm looking at. Well, what has he done? He's alienated everybody. He hasn't alienated the Democrats yet, strangely, but he's alienated practically everyone who isn't for him in the Republican Party. I mean, stop and think about that for a minute. Has he said anything positive about anybody who isn't supporting him wholeheartedly in the Republican Party? I mean, he's alien. I got the list here. I wrote it down. Marco Rubio. I mean, he's certainly alienated him, and obviously Ted Cruz and John Kasich and I mean, you can just go down the list. I mean, he actually at one point called Ben Carson not that great of a surgeon. I mean, come on. And who else? Oh, Rick Perry. Remember the nasty things he said about Rick Perry? Rick Perry, he's the former governor of Texas. But don't you think you're going to need his help in Texas, Mr. Trump, at some point if you're the nominee? Why would he help you? I mean, what's in it for him if you become president? This is what I think is that the root of what's wrong with Donald Trump. He's adopting sort of a scorched earth policy against all of these other Republicans as if he's not going to need their help to win the election. He's going to need their help to win the nomination, much less the presidency. So, and here's the thing. A lot of these guys, especially the guys in Congress, they don't care. Some of them don't care if a Republican wins the presidency, because they're still going to have their little patch of power and their little fiefdom and their freebies and perks of office. They're still going to have that whether he's president or not. They don't care. So for them, and they got a lot of sway, they can move resources to help him get elected. But you're not going to get that help if you just keep calling them names and alienating them. And that's the problem. See, now here's where I think it really becomes important. Now Trump is, in this battle now in all these primary states trying to accumulate all these delegates. And he's trying to get to the magic number of 1237 so that he can win on the first ballot, because I think it's pretty clear, if it should be by now, that if Trump doesn't win on the first ballot, he's going to have a hell of a time winning the nomination on any subsequent ballots. And that brings me to another problem that I think that he's going to have, is that he needs, not, like I just said, he needs the help of those other people. But Trump doesn't seem to understand, or maybe he does, but he's not acting like it. He doesn't seem to understand that the Republican Party is a private organization. In fact, a lot of voters don't seem to understand this as well. The Republican Party, when you register as part of a political party, you're not going inside the government. You're going inside of a club. You're going inside of a private organization that has its own rules. It's decentralized state by state. Every state has separate rules. And how they choose a nominee and how they choose delegates, whether they have a primary or a caucus or neither, is entirely up to them. And the congressmen and senators who and state office holders who are in that political party that reside in those states have a lot of influence in those parties. And why shouldn't they? Somebody explain to me why they shouldn't have that. They're Republicans or whatever party. They should have influence. And in the Republican Party, they have influence. So they're going to influence who gets selected, and they're going to influence the rules. That's not corruption. That's just the way the party structure works in the United States. Now, George Washington didn't like parties, but we're a long way from George Washington, folks. Long way. So when Trump gets up there and he starts hurling insults, this is a corrupt system, it's rotten to the core, it's sour grapes. He knows what the rules are. He knows that if he's trying to win the presidency on the cheap, which it does appear to be what he's doing, he is trying to besmirch the process to keep the voters from realizing that he's really doesn't have a lock on the candidacy like he wants you to believe. And what's really weird about this whole thing is that Trump is not going to be able to run as a third-party candidate. That's the weird part. You see, a lot of states have laws that say if you were a candidate for a particular party, but you didn't secure the nomination for that party, you are legally prohibited from running on a third-party ticket. That's actually the case in a lot of states. So if Trump doesn't get the Republican nomination and tries to run third party in whatever states he can run in, why? He's not going to win. He's not going to become president. He may not even be able to ruin it for the Republican. He's just going to, throw a monkey wrench into the whole election, and who knows what will happen. But in any event, it's a pointless exercise on his part. So what I'm really wanted to explain here today is that Trump needs to stop alienating people. I'm not totally against a Trump candidacy. I mean, he's not my guy. I don't favor him. He's not my favorite. But I'd feel a whole lot better about Trump if he would just stop insulting people. I mean, act like a president. Start acting like one. I mean, is it that hard? I mean, every day we get word that, Trump's changing. He's changing. He's going to be better now. He's not going to be insulting everybody. And that lasts for 5 minutes. And then he's out there, lying Ted, 38 state loser, Casey. I mean, come on already. I mean, I honestly, when Donald Trump talks anymore, and I really have trouble even listening to him at all anymore. Whenever he talks, I feel like I need to take a shower after I hear him, you know, and go to confession or something, because I mean, it really is disturbing to hear this guy after a while. I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm beginning to think he's a bit of a megalomaniac. But all that aside, if it were him versus Hillary, I'd still Trump. It's got to be, because Hillary Clinton is by far a worse choice than Donald Trump. But having said all of that, Donald Trump is going to need the help of Ted Cruz in Texas if he becomes the nominee. He's going to need the help of Jeb Bush. He's going to need the help of Marco Rubio in Florida. He's going to need the help he's going to need all the help he can get. You think Hillary Clinton isn't right now? She doesn't have like armies of people figuring out ways to attack Donald Trump? Do you realize how rich, target rich Donald Trump is? I mean, and furthermore, lately Donald Trump was on the Today Show, and I posted this on my website. You could see the videos there at greatvocalmajority.com. He was on a Today Show, and he went back on a number of different positions. And let me give you an example of what I mean. And this goes in tune with how he's also alienated people in the Republican Party. He was asked about abortion, and he was making exceptions, and he was coming off the traditional Republican position on abortion. Now, I'm not here to argue whether abortion's good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, I just talking politics here. You got an entire wing of the Republican Party that's about right to life in every case, rape and incest included. There's probably 10 million voters like that. And now Donald Trump is coming up, well, I'm going to make exceptions. First of all, there's nothing he can do about it. But that's his position. I mean, what are those right to life voters going to do? Do you think they're going to turn out for Donald Trump? No, they're going to likely stay home. Just like the very religious Southern Baptists, or the evangelicals that didn't like Mormons stood home and gave the election to Barack Obama against Mitt Romney. The same thing's going to happen. And a lot of people say, well, no, Trump is bringing in other voters, people who are other voters. Well, any voter that Trump brings in is more than offset by the voters he's losing. I mean, when he starts saying, like he did on the Today Show, oh, I think we need to raise taxes on the rich. What? We're going to raise taxes on the rich? We shouldn't be raising taxes at all. We should be cutting taxes on everybody. That's the Republican position. That's the conservative position. He's out there saying we got to raise taxes on somebody, on rich people. He goes, I don't mind paying more taxes. Well, who's stopping you? Pay it. But don't pass a law saying you have to pay. Who does he win over by saying something like that? Matt Lauer? Who gives a damn about him? It just doesn't make any sense at all what he's doing. And his advisors are nuts if this is what they're advising him. Because by moderating his position, he's losing all the people that he won. Because he's depressing their turnout. And he's not really, by deviating the way he's doing it, which is like obviously an attempt to go to the middle, it's not winning anybody. It never has. That's why you need to be strongly conservative. He even moderated his tone on immigration. That's the one thing that got people excited about him, is that he was strong on illegal immigration. Yes, he did insult Mexicans and Latinos. He could overcome that by reaching out to them, but he doesn't reach out to anybody. He never apologizes for anything, any of the insults he makes. Never apologizes. Demands apologies from other people. The guy is unbelievable. This is the thing that bothers me about him the most is that you don't get any sense of humility in the man. A lot of people like this because they think that, well, he's like an alpha male. He's out there. He's gonna really give it to Hillary. He is going to be made to look like an ogre to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton's gonna play the, oh, I'm such a lost babe in the woods and he insulted me and I'm a girl. That's what she's gonna do to him. And the media's gonna play that up. You think the media likes Donald Trump? The media is salivating. There's like drool running down their chins. Their shirts are wet from the drool because they can't wait to get at Donald Trump, because he's gonna do to Hillary Clinton what he did to Megyn Kelly. Except it's not gonna go over the same way. Sure, I mean, are Trump supporters gonna like it? Of course, they like anything the guy does. He's a show. But are the voters that haven't decided yet who to vote for going to like it? No. No, they're not. The reason they're undecided is because they're having trouble deciding. When you act like a beast, you're not you're not winning anybody over. You're making Hillary Clinton appear reasonable. While Trump is like ranting, hey, crooked Hillary. While he's doing that, she's going to go, well, I'm just very disappointed that the Republicans put forward a candidate. She's going to sound like that, and it's going to sound so reasonable, and people are going to go, Hillary's right. I mean, why is Donald Trump so unhinged? That's what it's going to be like. And then, people on the Republican side are going to be like this. And I go, why should I go out and vote? And that's exactly what they're going to want. That's exactly what the Democrats are going to want. They're going to want a depressed Republican electorate that will not go out to vote for him, just like they did with John McCain, just like they did with Mitt Romney. And that's what I think we have to watch for. We got to watch for that kind of stuff. And Trump, all he got to do is soften his tone. That's all he has to do. He just has to come out and start talking like, I don't know, a president, that would be nice. And, behave in a way where he's diplomatic. He can, why doesn't he criticize Hillary Clinton as often and in the same manner that he criticizes, Ted Cruz and John Kasich? Why doesn't he? He for every one thing he says about Hillary Clinton, he says like 20 things about the other guys. And if he was at least conciliatory toward the rest of the Republicans that he's alienated, like maybe apologizing, that would help, right? All he would have to do, he doesn't have to fall on his sword and make a spectacle of himself. He should just say, I just want everyone to know that everything happened it was in the heat of the campaign, and I don't want anyone to take personally anything I ever said about them, even if it was said in a personal way. And if I've hurt people's feelings about that, I want you to know that I'm sorry about it. But it's coming from a good place. I really am so passionate about helping America. That's all he has to say. He doesn't have to go overboard. He doesn't have to go crazy. He just has to say that, reach out in a way that will make it very hard for those people to not support him. Otherwise, he's going to have a hell of a time. Because, trust me, folks, if he doesn't win on that first ballot, he's going to have a hell of a time winning on any other ballot. Because the way the rules work do not favor him. The rules don't even favor him on the first ballot, because a lot of those delegates that are selected and some of them are even though they are supposed to vote for Trump, in some states then not all of them must vote for Trump. So there's a lot of play in these numbers. So when you see these numbers reported of who's won so many delegates, you should understand that there's a lot of play in those numbers. And the other thing is too is that you got Ted Cruz, who knows the rule book, he's going out there and he's like talking to these people and he's making sure that, you know, if there's a second ballot, vote for me. Ted Cruz is quietly lining up the nomination, and today's alliance between Cruz and Kasich tells me that Cruz is making a lot of deals with a lot of people to help pave his path toward the nomination. I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up being the ticket as a result, a Cruz Kasich ticket. I wouldn't be surprised. I I just don't believe that Trump is going to win because he's alienated just too many people in the party. And if he had directed his fire at Hillary Clinton, he would have been just as popular. And he would have won, I think, just as much as he has won. But by doing what he's done, I mean, he's essentially frozen himself out, I believe. Anyway, I know it's a long video cast. That's for me. That's it for me, folks. I'm Tony Codispoti, Great Vocal Majorities, the website. You can go to it anytime. I mean, it's a free site. There's really I just post a lot of information there and a lot of news sources and other things and podcasts as well, not just a video cast like this. That I try to share information that I find and come up with. I try to do it for as much from an unbiased point of view as I can. Although, as you could tell, I am a conservative. But that's it for me. Take care. Thanks for watching.